of here, Sensei!
Hi, welcome back for another 7 Caillou challenge. This one's called Password Validator. This is a good one. This is somewhat like something you would meet in real life. So your job is to create a simple password validation function to make sure it's a reasonable password. The rules are as follows. You need at least one uppercase letter, at least one lower, at least one number, and it needs to be at least 8 characters long. You are permitted to use any methods to validate the password. So pretty straightforward there. Why don't you go ahead and pause the video now, go ahead and try this one out, and come on back when you're ready. Okay, let's get into it. I'll do a couple quick solutions. They're not going to take very long. This is a very straightforward problem. Hopefully you were able to come up with something that worked. This first one, I'm just going to sort of roll my own. For solution number 2, I'll use some LINQ methods, though I don't think that the LINQ solution is any better. Let's go with, I should discuss the algorithm first. Let's set up a couple fields, a couple Boolean values to denote when we detect a lowercase letter, an uppercase letter, and a number. The idea will be is after we process all the letters in the string, if all 3 of those have been encountered and the string is of sufficient length, then we will go ahead and say the password is valid. So to this end, I will make is lower, and we're going to initialize all these to false. We're going to assume it's false to start, and then when we encounter them, we'll set them to be true. Is, or maybe I should say has lower instead of is upper. I like to give my Boolean variables names that indicate they're Boolean instead of just lower. I like has lower or is lower. Has upper equals to false, and then we'll say has number equal, that's a minus sign, forgive my typing, equals to false. Okay, good, we have those 3 fields. And then like I said, the idea is let's iterate over all the strings in the input, and in fact this is just a terrible name for the input string, so we aren't stuck with it. I'm going to go ahead and name mine input. Okay, so for each char, let's call it ch in input. You can give it whatever variable name you like. I use ch for a character because they could be numbers too, right? Or punctuation or letters or anything. So let's check each character. So for this, I will refer you to the Microsoft Docs. Go ahead and Google search Microsoft Docs or C# character char, and you should come up with something like this. And then go ahead and expand the methods, and you'll see what is available to you. Notice that we have is lower, is upper, and there was an is number. Those are the 3 I'm going to use. You're welcome to click on these and read about them, but they do pretty much what you think they do. So let's say if C char is lower ch, you pass the character to it, then we'll go ahead and say has lower equals true. And similarly, we're going to do the same thing for is upper. Check if there's ever an uppercase letter. Has upper equals true. And if char is number ch, then we'll say has number equals true. And I kind of broke one of my own styling rules. Normally when I do this for sort of local private variables here, I would start them with a lowercase letter, and I'll sort of honor that here. But it doesn't matter, it'll work the same, however you want to do it. So has number equals true. Yeah, so we're going to check if it's lower, upper, or a number. In fact, you could use else ifs here and chain this all into one thing. That would be fine too. And then finally, the idea is if this thing is a valid password, then all 3 of these Booleans will be true. So let's say return has lower, and remember double ampersand is our logical and, has upper and has number. And then what was that final condition? It was that our input.length was at least 8 characters long. So I'll say greater than or equal to 8. Something like this should work. Syntax equal, yeah, of course, I put for instead of for each. This is a for each loop. Remember the for loop has, for I equals 0, I is less than some value, increment or decrement I, or whatever, however you want to manipulate I. So just a silly error on my part there. Good, we see a lot of green there, but that was just the test. Let's run the attempt to make sure it's still good. And you'd be just fine submitting something like this. And like I said, since these are all different, you could also chain this into else ifs. That way, once it finds, this is a little preferable because if it finds that a character is lower, then it doesn't need to keep searching for an upper or a number, right? A lower is not a number and it's not an upper. So this is probably a little more precise, but again, I don't think you're going to see a difference in performance, really. So good, you could submit like this too. And this is probably what I'll submit. If you want to stick around, I'll show you a quick solution using the LINQ methods as well. So for that, let's just do this. Multi-line comment, right? Slash asterisk, and we'll end that way. So I'm just going to comment this out for now. And because I'm using LINQ, let's go ahead and bring in that library before I get yelled at when I run and forget to do that. So now you can imagine this is the same kind of thing, but if you recall that with LINQ, we have this any method. You could also use count too, right? You could count if the characters, how many of them were lowercase or uppercase. It would take a little more processing. But any's just the same. It just tells you if there's at least one, since that's all we needed in our validator, just one or more. We'll go ahead and use any. This is a nice example here where you can see they have this pets collection, and they want to know if any of them are age over 1 and not vaccinated. So this is the idea. We're going to pass a lambda function to any to kind of tell it what it's counting or what it's checking to make sure there's at least one of. So go ahead, feel free to read that documentation more if you'd like. Otherwise, let's try something like that. So we could say return input any, and then we're going to pass a lambda function. I'm going to use that ch name again for a character. And remember, any is smart enough to know that since this is a string type, each item in it, so to speak, is a character. So I don't have to write out character char. I don't have to write out char ch like I did in this for each loop. So I'm just giving the parameter name there. Since there's only one parameter, I don't have to put it in parentheses like we normally do with methods. And then I can just do my usual char is lower ch like this, right? And so the idea is, in fact, I'll just copy this, and then we'll have our ands here. And we're going to do the same thing for is upper, and then we're going to have and is number, right? Oops. And finally, the length. Input dot length is greater than or equal to 8. So let's test this. Hopefully I didn't make any mistakes. Looks green. Green is golden. We'll hit the full suite. And so yeah, we can go ahead and fire this off too. I'll leave it up to you, whichever one you like better. I'm going to go back with just the regular sort of check. In this system, I'm only going through the input string one time, where you could have some extra processing. You know, a lot of people think less typing means less work or faster, but that's not necessarily the case. So let's delete that. I'll remove this. I will run it again since I changed the code and they're going to make me. Oh, I don't need the link anymore either. Let's clean that up. And this looks good. So yeah, not too bad, right? Pretty easy. Hopefully you didn't have too much trouble with that one. Go ahead and fire it off and go ahead and look. So you see they did use the LINQ version there. As usual, go ahead and look through. This is a good example with rejects. We call that regular expressions. Good thing to study. But as usual, go through other people's solutions and see what you can learn from them as well. Otherwise, you know where to find me if you have any questions. Otherwise, I appreciate those likes and subs, and I will see you in another video. Thank you very much.